Well, welcome. Tonight, we're going to talk to some people who too many of us don't think about until we absolutely need them. We have some guests on to help us plan for the future and take care of our families from the Salmon at Medway. And they're going to talk about assisted living and independent living and just helping our parents and grandparents live. And I can tell you, I was one of the people who put it off until my sainted mother needed help. And at that point, it was a quick run around trying to figure out what is the best solution and who could we get to help. So why don't we start with introductions? Nancy?
Sure. My name is Nancy Began. I have been a sales director for the Salmon Health and Retirement for the past 10 years in our Worcester community, and I am now working at our Medway community.
Nancy?
Great. I'm Nancy Andre, and I am here working at the Willows and Whitney Place and Director of Business Development. Very happy to be here too. Thank you, Elle.
Thank you for joining us. Ariel?
My name is Ariel Hughes, and I have been in the senior living industry for about 7 years, but I've joined Salmon just under a year ago, and I'm at the Medway.
So now, guys, tell me about the facility, because too many people, and I was one of them, had no idea what the different options are, what the facilities offer. Tell us a little bit about Salmon at Medway.
If we could start with the family story, that really is so engaging and interesting and kind of explains the whole why we do and why the company does what they do. I think Nancy was going to be able to go over the history of the family.
Yes.
We like history.
Yes. Okay. So this is a family-owned business, and Dan and Helen Salmon started the business in 1952. So they were both nurses. They were looking for, actually, they wanted to create a healthier, richer residential option for seniors. And so they started the business in Northborough. And then the company grew under their son, Dan, and his wife, Dottie. Now it is growing even more, being run by their grandsons, Matt Salmon, who is the CEO of the company, and Andrew Salmon, who is the director of network development. And we're in central Massachusetts and in Norfolk County. And you know, the great thing about this company is that it is family run and it's not huge. So the Salmons are deeply involved. You'll see them in the communities. I think that has a great benefit for our residents. And it just really gives a personal touch.
Yeah, they have a handle on everything that's going on a daily basis.
Now, is that rare to have still a family-owned home?
I think it is. A lot of communities that are around are huge communities with hundreds of locations. And again, we have 8 different locations.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty big.
And they basically just want to master what we have and what they have, oh dear God, created in Massachusetts. So they don't have any plans of extending beyond there. They just want to make this the best possible different campuses that they possibly can for the residents. So
now,
to point out that the Salmons know our residents by name. They know their stories. When you come and live with us and join the Salmon family, you're not just a number. Everyone knows who you are and what's important to you and what you're looking to excel at in life.
Yeah. So now, help people who don't understand, because we hear assisted living, we hear independent living, we hear nursing home. What's the differences and which ones are you?
So I'd like to start this off by saying a word that I hear people use often, that we are not. We're not a nursing home, not a facility. We are a community. So when I hear that, I just want to teach people the difference that when you come in an active lifestyle, we are a retirement community, a retirement campus. When you come with us, it's to live your best.
Now, Ariel, when we think of a place to go, it's a scary movie. I mean, my sainted mother lived with us for 30 years. The idea of her not living with us was candidly frightening, and not having her home with the grandkids and all was something we put off. Unfortunately, we couldn't put off dementia, and it became a safety issue. How do you recommend people start gaining an understanding of what's out there and what would fit best for them?
I would definitely recommend folks to come and meet with one of us, explore the options, and take advantage of everything that we have to offer before they need it. Because oftentimes people wait and wait. And I don't word until it's too late, but until they don't get to enjoy the full benefits of one of our communities. People often move in and they find new hobbies, passions that they had years ago that they're rediscovering. And we just really want to help people to realize that, again, we're not a nursing home. We're a retirement community with apartments, and we want to help you live your best days.
And the whole thing with our community is, which we definitely need to talk about. Salmon has the continuum of care. So our residents can move in. They can, for example, move into the Willows, which is our independent model. And they can, they can stay there. Maybe the average age, our requirement is 55 and over. I would say probably the average age is in the mid 60s that we're attracting right now, in the independent. But the great news is that once they're in our continuum of care, the Salmon family, they can age in place. So when it comes a time, or if there's a time where they may need to change and go into assisted living, which really the big difference is just you're going to get some more personal support on activities of daily living. That's really the big difference. But they can move through that. They can move through the continuum, and whatever happens, basically, Salmon can support them. We can support them through our Salmon VNA, through our private care options, down to we have end of life support. So with the company.
So Al, I have to say one word you said earlier really stuck out in my head, and that was the word plan. And, once you know what your options are and have a plan in place, then I think it just helps. Like, it sounds like for you, it was kind of stressful, that move for your mom. And I think if people plan, the earlier they plan, then you're going to have peace of mind about where your path is going to lead you. And the path in our communities actually does start with independent living. So it gives folks, as Nan said, it's for folks 55 and better. It allows folks to live independently and enjoy a maintenance-free lifestyle. So in independent living, it is about the lifestyle and the choices. Really, we have folks who still work who live in independent living, but it gives you
And
the
they can
time
come and go as they please. You don't have to report in or sign in or anything like that. It is truly independent. You pull into the driveway, the front door. I will say the back entrance of our cottages, our independent cottages, which are just exquisite, does have an opening into the community. Should you choose to go into the community that way, it's your option. You don't have to. But it is truly independent on that note.
And another thing, it just, for folks who don't want the burden of, what if something happens? What if my refrigerator breaks or the oil burner has an issue? It is a maintenance-free lifestyle. We're going to take care of that for you. So it's no stress, really.
Yeah.
And, people might choose to move to the Willows, in their 50s, 60s, maybe to be closer to their children or to be closer to their grandchildren. We have a lot of people moving from other areas to be closer to their families and be able to spend time, because the community is there for them and their family to use. All of our
And it is
amenities are
too.
cool.
There's so many features, Al, which really, it is a luxury country club-ish type of community. We're not for everybody. There's a niche of people that we are there for. First and foremost, it's private pay, which means they're going to pay for it. It doesn't get paid through Medicaid, Medicare, or Medicaid. The only other possible assistance would be if they had and this is for assisted living, if they had a long-term insurance policy. But these days, because the costs are so high, you're not seeing it as frequently as before. But what you're paying for 57 acres. You're paying for all these walking trails, 3 restaurants, several spas, indoor swimming pool, top notch programming to just engage our residents every day, challenge them, make that brain keep moving and thinking and doing all that fun stuff. And lots of great outdoor things, ice skating ring, dog park, boat launch right on the Charles. It's lovely. So it really is lovely.
So you would not you'd force me not to have to cut the grass and not to clear brush and not to paint the house?
We would force you. Yes, you would not be allowed to.
We want you to enjoy yourself. That's what this is the time for you to enjoy yourself and have fun with your friends and family, and utilize. So many residents move in and they have so many different talents. You get a wide range of people and they want to share their talents, and it really can open up a whole new world for you. So
yeah. Get up, have your coffee, walk around the community, look at the Charles. Just enjoy, because you know what? You have worked so hard, you and your partner. And if you're able to do this and you want to do it, and do it while you're young and healthy, versus when you get to a situation and there hasn't been a plan. And then there's really a critical period of time, whether it's to, my mom, my dad, they need assistance. They need to go into assisted living, or, take it up another step, memory care. Right now, 1 in 3 seniors is diagnosed with Alzheimer's. It's absolutely,
Wow.
it's debilitating. And I know you know quite a bit about this. Your mom,
Yes.
I think you had shared with me that your mom had Alzheimer's. So we have a 40-unit memory care. We refer to it as our Tapestry program, our Tapestry neighborhood. And I got to tell you, it's really a sensational part of the community, because it truly feels like a home. And so I think for the adult children, I think just psychologically, when they see everything that they see and just the size of the apartments, you can just see a whole change in their face, because they're thinking, oh my gosh, I envisioned this one thing, and now I just feel peace, and I see this as beautifully. They thought about all these details. My mom, my dad, whoever is going to be so safe. And I know, Ari, you can talk.
How big are these cottages?
So for independent living, we have attached cottages, and we also have 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. For assisted living, we have 1 bedroom plus den, and 2 bedroom apartments. And then in our Tapestry memory care neighborhood, we have studio apartments and companion apartment homes.
But now, when you say this cabin, is it big enough for me to have my grandkids over? And
oh, definitely. There's
Absolutely.
1,600 square, or up to 1,600 square feet.
wow, oh, that's
So,
big.
yeah.
And Al, guess what? There's an arcade for the kids to play in. We have a golf simulator. We've got a billiards room. We have a incredible theater. I mean, it's wow. Just the performances and all the productions that we're bringing in, and it's really pretty amazing. So they're going to want, even though they love you so much, they're not going to want to leave.
Well, it's something that I'm almost 65, and my darling bride is already starting with, we don't need the house this size.
Mm-hmm.
We should downsize. And the idea of downsizing scares the living heck out. This is my house. I built it. I got used to having my library, and she has her library, and we have all the stuff. But the biggest thing is, come Saturday morning, Ungrateful offspring number one brings my 2 grandchildren over, and it's wonderful. I mean, for her, she's just a rock star because, you know, she's working full time, raising 2 kids, going for a PhD, coaching Special Olympics. Yeah, she needs a break. So it would be nice, you know, if we go anywhere, to be able to maintain that and keep the family visiting.
I
would
think your
Definitely.
family will always be visiting out based, yeah, with you. I wouldn't think anything else. So
No, but you know, you think through it, and it's a scary moment when you start realizing you're old. You know,
absolutely.
and all of a sudden I have to start thinking about, you know, because what you're talking about is multi phases. Phase number one, I'm still healthy. I don't want to paint the house anymore. You know, now we hear a lot of places advertise for over 55 living. Is that what you're offering?
That is what we are offering. So you can be 55 years old, and you can be an independent, similar to Nancy's parents. They're in their late 80s and they're, I mean, the mom and dad kayak and swim every day and ski. And so, you know, you just don't know.
But
I tell her
now,
she's got the great genes.
So, but also, Al, the nice thing is you can be an independent living, again, and do all these things, and your needs might increase a little bit. It doesn't mean you necessarily have to make a move right away or at all to assisted living. We have our own home health agency that you can hire them to bring them in to help you out for an hour or two and possibly, you know, stay in your home for a longer period of time. Your home meaning, you know, your apartment or your cottage. But we have assisted living as well. And I'd like, you know, I think Ari should talk about that, you know, everything that's offered with assisted living. That would be the next step, but it's all under the same roof, which
so
is
basically,
great.
I'm 55, I'm still mobile, I don't need any help. I'm just not doing all the maintenance.
Exactly.
Right. You're living your
Then
You're
life,
just
you're enjoying.
I get
enjoying life.
further down the line, and when do I call you, Ari?
So my neighborhood gets a little bit of a bad rep. But I just like to point out that folks that come and join us in assisted living get all the perks and the same maintenance-free lifestyle and independence that folks do in independent living. The only difference is we prepare all 3 of your meals daily. Your dining plan is inclusive of any of our 3 restaurants. And you also get 45 minutes of care built into your monthly service fee. And those 45 minutes can be broken up during the day. They can be inclusive of showering, toileting, bathing. I'm sorry, I said that, showering. Anything that helps with your activities of daily living. But it really is to just keep you with those independent moments and have you have self-esteem and just really be able to age in place.
And it's interesting, Al, what Ari is saying here too. Assisted living is a social model. I mean, ultimately, again, talk about nursing home. It is not a nursing home or a long-term care, and I think that's where all of the confusion comes about. But assisted livings were created and built under the model of this is going to be a social model. So we're going to keep you out of your apartment as much as possible because statistics prove getting you involved, getting you out and seeing other people is going to help your health, and just make you feel better. So
Of course, of course. And I do like to point out too, when folks come to inquire about our communities, whether it's independent living or assisted living, um, inquiring early and really being honest with yourself and asking those tough questions really does help maximize your independence. Nobody knows what's going on behind your door in your apartment, what help you're receiving. When they see you at the golf simulator or playing bocce or pickleball, anything like that, it is just as Nan said, a social model, and we're really just in your home helping you to again be as independent as you can be.
exactly.
So when I think about the restaurants, I mean, I'm very, as you can tell, I am not starved. Being as rotund as I am, I enjoy food. So when you're saying you're going to cook for me,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been spoiled because ungrateful offspring number 2 moved in during the pandemic, and she's on a mission to prove that she's a better cook than my darling bride. And that's going to be very hard, but I'm getting gourmet meals every night from my daughter. I like good food.
Mhm.
Talk to me about your restaurants. I mean, it's
I
not a burger and fries every night.
No.
is not. Our director of culinary is absolutely a foodie as well. We have what's called anytime dining. So from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., you're able to visit one of our 3 restaurants, 2 of which being more of a formal sit down table service. And then the other one, bistro, is more grab and go. But even the grab and go is scratch made soups, homemade sandwiches,
Hmm.
gourmet.
Everything is scratch made. Everything.
But our restaurants, the anytime dining, you can get filet mignon for breakfast, get, breakfast for dinner, pancakes, eggs, things like that. It's all about choices, and again, gourmet, top quality, 5-star.
So I can just go there and eat?
Yes.
Time from 7
So,
p.m.
so actually in independent living, Al, though, you do have a full kitchen in your apartment. So you can still cook. You can have your daughter come over and cook, but you do get 1 meal a day as part of your monthly service fees. So,
And you can
and
switch
this,
that. One day it could be breakfast, the next it could be dinner, then lunch. You don't just pick a meal and that's what you get for the rest of the time with us. It's, again, all about choices.
And then you can also go up to our bar that's on the fourth
Fourth
floor, and we have a full liquor license if you drink. But we also have bar bites, like a menu with just little picky things. Again, everything is homemade. We can't stress the importance of that because I think everybody says, "Oh, my food is great. My food is great," but here it actually really is. Everything really is fresh. We just had this incredible article put out by our culinary director in regarding like the seafood, where the seafood is purchased. So it's not like you know day old seafood from Shaw's. It's literally like they catch it and they bring it back to our community.
Wow.
Yeah, they do the same things with the gardens. And how cool is this, Al? We have, I know the ladies both know what I'm going to say. We have beehives, our own beehives, so that we can offer our residents and part of the culinary program fresh honey every
Oh,
day.
wow.
We actually have a bee master.
We're all about that eat
Who
local.
can top that, huh? You can't. Honestly, it's amazing. I'm blown away by it, and it takes a lot to blow me away. But I'm like, just to think about those little details.
Well, now we start talking about phase 1, the retirement side.
Mhm.
I can deal with that. I'm still young enough. I'm still at a point where I can ask questions and plan that. But now, one of the things I failed at, because candidly, I just wanted to stay in denial, the idea of not having my mother with us. I mean, she moved in when when my oldest was 1 year old. So she was always with us. Everywhere we went, grandma went with us. She had no idea what a hockey game was, but we went to all the hockey games. She was there because the family was there.
That's
And I
great.
have to admit, I just stayed in denial as long as I could. But what would you recommend, as our parents get older, and I'm already almost 65, so I'm getting there. What should the kids start looking at? What should they ask?
I would first and foremost say start before you think your parents are ready. I would also shop around to a few different communities, find out what's most important to them. I know a lot of times I deal with an adult child and they're like, I would love this, I would love this, but some things aren't as important to mom and dad versus, other things are a little bit more important. And then I would just like to stress too, make sure you're comparing apples to apples. Each
Mhm.
offers different things. So when you're comparing pricing and inclusions, just again, make sure that they're apples to apples.
The other thing
That's a
too,
great
Alice,
point.
I really, really, really recommend people starting to get educated with dementia. There's so many different things out there that just take such a small amount of time as far as training, and so that you're more aware of, because again, looking at the numbers are, they're not good. And it's not, anything you pull up the Alzheimer's Association. But one thing we are working on behalf of the Willis and Whitney Place in Medway is working to get Medway to it's a dementia friendly town. And that's something that's going to hopefully attract more people, because everyone in the town will have gone through some sort of training to understand, even if it's like 5 of the most important things when you're working with somebody who has dementia.
And I'll say, you were asking, where do they start? For folks who are not there yet, we really just recommend make appointments with communities and go and visit them. You'll get the feeling if it's right for you the second you walk in the door. I can say with so much confidence that when people come into our Salmon communities, it's a place they really want to be. So you'll get that feeling, and it's somewhere you'll want to stay.
Well, now,
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's also, there's some people, you said to get the plan and everything else like that, but there are some people that just don't want that. They want to, but still, their children, the adult children should know the plan, so that a disaster doesn't happen. Like, they should know. For perfect example, my family, my father was not going anywhere. He was staying in the home, and we were instructed, if we needed to bring in care, and that's what we did. And we respected his wishes, and and that's how that went. So I think it's important to have that conversation with mom or dad. It's very uncomfortable, but I think it's critical, because there's nothing worse than leaving everything on the children, and for them to figure, and then all the guilt comes into play, and it's just, it can be eliminated just through a nice, healthy conversation.
now, Ari, you brought up a point where you said you should go out and compare.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's say there's 3 different communities. What do I start with? What are some of the basic things I should watch for? Because you mentioned there are different add-ons and charges and issues. I'm going to Salmon and going to place 2 and 3. What's the first thing, most fundamental, I should look for?
So most people, the first thing they ask about is pricing right off the bat. And I want to say, if you're most concerned with funds and how much you can afford for how long you can afford it, again, make sure that with our community, we include the care, we include the utilities, we include a lot of things that other communities don't. So our prices might be a little bit higher than other communities, but when you take into account of everything that we include just lumped into one price, it ends up being not only well worth your while, but oftentimes less expensive in the long run than places that don't include care. So if you're focused on pricing that, but then I would talk to the team about longevity of staff, the turnover, the quality of food, and just plans that they have in place if there was an emergency with your loved one.
That's a great point, Ari. That's huge, especially having gone through a pandemic that we've gone through, that we're still not out of. I think that's absolutely a phenomenal question for the adult child, or whoever the guardian caretaker is, to find out what the plan of action is, should we get into another situation.
Well, now,
I also think
go
it's
ahead.
important. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead,
I was
Nancy.
going to say, it's important to look at the cleanliness. As I said, I worked in our Worcester community for 10 years, and people always commented, they couldn't believe it was 8, 9, 10 years old because it was clean. Everything looked great. And and the reason I'm bringing that up is because our executive director, Andrew Freilich, was my executive director in Worcester, and he is the executive director in Medway. And he just has such a high standard for everyone and has a commitment to making it the best community possible. But I really, again, think it's important, the cleanliness of the community and the friendliness of the staff and the residents. Ari mentioned it a few minutes ago. It has to be a good fit for the person. And that's only a feeling you can get when you walk in and you just get that feeling like, oh, wow, this is it. This is the place for me.
You can usually tell within 5 minutes,
Mhm.
I think, and you can tell on the resident's face that it's either it's a go or it's not a go. Like and again, it's that feeling.
And
We can't control what you're going to feel.
of course,
I mean,
all three of us are in sales. We help residents transition into our communities, but we would never want someone to make a move that wasn't right for them.
Mhm.
But now you mentioned there's different costs. The rent
Yes.
has to be one. And
Mhm.
now what, utilities and food? What other things, Ari?
So Al,
So,
all roped into one. That's one of the great things about our community is you don't have to worry about, oh, this is due on this day, this on this day. Conveniently, we lump that into one monthly service fee. So you write one check each month or one cost comes out automatically. Truly nothing else you would have to worry about in assisted living. In independent living, you do have the dining plan of 1 meal per day. So if you wanted to use the restaurant for the other 2 meals, you would worry about that.
you would pay cash or, right. But we also,
volunteer apartment.
all the utilities. So the heat, hot water, electricity, the air conditioning, like we said, you don't have to worry about that.
Real estate
We
tax.
mentioned not every community might include Wi-Fi, or we have Comcast basic cable TV, or your phone. We include all of that. You also get weekly housekeeping. So, they're going to come, they'll change the sheets on your bed for you. They'll dust, they're going to
Scrub your
vacuum,
bathroom.
clean. So it's just really very nice. And we have programs all the time for folks too. And all of that is included. So if we have a concert or we have a guest speaker, that's included in the price. Movies, all different things that we have in the community.
It's also nice that
Classes, how to learn Russian. I mean, you wouldn't believe it, like what's on this menu. But I will say something, Al. And when I started working for the company 6 months ago, and because it was in a different area, I'm from a different area. I live in Easton. Excuse me. It was important to see all of the other communities that are either independent living or assisted living, and everyone's been just really fantastic and very welcoming to the neighborhood. But I will tell you, there are some other communities that it's kind of deceiving. They'll put a price here and you'll say that's the price, but then all of the extras are at the bottom of the page. My eyes, now everybody sees things differently, but I'm one of those that just looks straight ahead and I want to see what the price is. Okay. And we noticed that as we were going through something. Nancy and Ari both caught it immediately, but I was like, wow, that's not, clearly it affected me because I was just like, you know what, it's actually really add another $1,000 onto this.
Wow.
So yeah. Oh yeah. Big
Now,
time.
you mentioned language. So you say Russian. I can say "не понимаю." I don't understand anymore. But here, my mother, she'd been in the US since 1941, so she could speak English, but she was a lot more comfortable in Portuguese. What kind of language offerings do you have?
So I will say that depends on the staff and the talent that we're able to hire. I would say once we get down closer to when the community is opening, we'll be hiring for levels of staff that will be taking care of our residents. And of course, we look for folks that are able to communicate in as many languages as they can.
Possible.
Probably say the most common would be Spanish. But you never know, again, what type of talent we will attract and we'll be able to help with our residents. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I hate to bring this up, but talk to me about financial stability, because everything I'm reading about different senior places, I mean, it seems like so many are being gobbled up or taken over by the state. What's the financial stability like at Salmon?
That's a great question. Nancy, what do you think? I think being the
Well, I'd
most
say the
senior person here.
well, I can't, we don't know, we don't have all that information available to us. But I will say that the company has been in business for close to 70 years. They are growing, and they've always been obviously been able to meet their commitments. And, we have so many great plans ahead that I have to confidently say that I believe their financial stability is, is
We're not
stellar. We're not going anywhere, right?
Well, if you've been there for
Operate-
70 years, you got to be doing something right.
Exactly.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, absolutely. For a company to just I have been blown away since day one, what they invest into their employees, where they really care. They truly want to know, are you happy? Is there anything we could be doing better? And the amount of loyalty that that creates and gives you, and then yeah, take it a step further, empowering us to do whatever we need to do, as long as it's legal and ethical, to make the resident happy. And that's a huge thing. That says so much about a company. And clearly they've had success with it. So
Now, you mentioned the employees. I was amazed at the people who took care of my mother. They
Mhm.
really cared about her, and it made it so much easier because it was, I don't know, I felt like I disappointed her when I couldn't take care of her, but
so
again, it got to a point where it was a safety issue.
Mhm.
I mean, we started with the taking her to grandma daycare, and then at 3 o'clock, the grandma daycare bus brought her home, and we hired somebody to stay with her till 6:30, and then we got home, and then we'd spend the time with her. But it was like at night she'd get up and she wouldn't know where she was, and we were scared to death she'd walk up or downstairs and get hurt. How do you screen people? How do you get the right people? Because they got to be saints to do this.
Yes. So
I couldn't agree with you more.
yeah, and the caregivers in the communities that I've got to visit, just in working with Salmon, since our community is not open yet, I have met some of the most compassionate people that the residents often refer to as their family. Those are the people that they're spending so much time with every single day. We see them in the community. They take such interest in our residents' lives, in their happiness. So I just wanted to comment on that quickly. But as far as screening people, we do have an assessment process, and it's more so, again, to make sure that we're both a right fit. We want to make sure that we can take care of you and that you're going to be happy and safe with us. So you'll meet with our nursing team, and they will develop a care plan to get to know your interests, what time you like to wake up in the morning, how we can best serve you.
Now, oh, go ahead, Nancy.
No, I was going to say the same. If that same process would happen in our Tapestry neighborhood,
Yeah,
which
for
is
all
where,
of us,
yeah,
well,
for
yeah,
everything. So
a care plan. So again, we want to get to know not only how are you going to be the safest, but I've mentioned it before, but it really is us in your home. So if you like to wake up late, we want to know that. We're not going to schedule housekeeping to come in at 7 a.m. It's really just us catering to you.
Mhm.
Now, what kind of outside services can people have access to? I mean, if they have to go to facilities for well, let's start. What kind of medical services do you offer at Salmon?
I can take this. So we do have space available for outside providers to round for our residents. I will say we don't know too much about what will happen in phase 2. If we'll have a medical center, if there will be a doctor rounding. We're still working on the behind the scenes for that. But like I said, we do have quite a bit of space for your outside provider to come and do rounds and check in on you.
Yeah, and I think if there's a provider available, at first we used to go pick up my mom, take her to her physician, and then we found the physician was taking good care of her that was, I guess, on site or visited.
Mhm.
So, the question is, are you planning on having a physician come in and take care of the residents?
I can say behind the scenes, we feel confident that that will be happening. There'll be more announced on that soon when we have specific details. But I do feel confident saying yes, that we'll be able to offer that.
And what happens if the resident has to go off-site? Like if they have to get dialysis or something on that line? How is that taken care of?
We do have transportation for a certain mile radius. So we would just have to figure out where that resident's receiving services. If it's within the radius, of course, it's free of charge. But if it's outside the radius, it could be a small charge for us to bring them to the resident.
I'm sure a lot would be happening now at the Milford Regional Medical Buildings because it is so big. They've got to have, pretty much everything and anything there as far as different types of doctors and things like that. We also did one thing. I was just reading over our community paper today, and we did name a chief medical officer for Salmon. So his name is Dr. Randall Morse. And which is really exciting. So he's going to play a big part in regards to as far as whether we're staffed with, again, a physician doing rounds, whether it's primary care on wheels. This is this new service out there that's free. It seems to be fantastic too. So there's a lot of options.
Now, as we start looking at all the heavy stuff, how about we switch to some of the fun stuff?
Yes.
You talk about programs. I mean, how do I put this? I only wished I could keep up with my mother and her energy.
I understand.
You laugh, but her and her girlfriends came over when we had a fireplace. We have 3 fireplaces in the house, so they would start the fireplaces and burn a lot of wood. Well, I went and rented a splitter. By the time I got home, you got 3 70-year-old ladies that split all the wood by hand.
Oh,
Gosh, do
So
they
the
want
idea of her sitting around and not doing anything, I mean, that dog just won't hunt. They had to keep her busy somehow. How do you keep people like my mom busy?
well, I can take that.
Okay.
Like I said before, one of the really, really big part about the community is having just awesome quality high-end programming. Of course, there will always be bingo because people love bingo. But what I love as far as we've just hired, I haven't had the pleasure of actually meeting her in person yet, but you can just tell by just her smile and her zest for life, she's going to be great. But we'll have presenters, we'll have speakers come in. There's this Broadway, he was one of the originals in Les Miserables. I've already been in touch with him for him to come in for entertainment. So between the entertainment, lectures on, why is it so difficult to maintain an orchid? Just things that really challenge the brains, keep it going. We're also going to really look to those resident form groups because this is their home. So they need to also have a really, really big say and play a large part in that. And so they will also, whether it's requesting certain people to come in, book club, we'll be bringing authors in, anything and anything that you can think of and it's really been thought about. Again, so nobody ever has an opportunity to say, I'm bored, unless that just happens to be something they like to say, they
Right.
won't be bored.
Right.
They won't
And,
be bored.
like Nan said, we do have a lot of resident-run committees, book club, opera club, genealogy, philosophy. It really, the sky's the limit depending on the residents. And, our residents in Worcester ran so many of clubs themselves. A lady moved in and she knew French, so she started a conversational French club. It really depends. We are going to have some great programming, like Dan said, but we will also utilize the talents of our residents and their interests. So based on the folks who move in and what they like to do, we will
And yeah,
work
well,
with them.
some people say, okay, my mother, she doesn't want to do anything. She just wants to, but she does like to watch all the other people do things. Well, that's actually huge. That is actually engaging, and pretty impressive. I said, so it actually is important, the programming, even though she won't actually do it, but she watches it. So it's interesting, you know.
Too, of things that you would see on our calendar. We did mention we have a pool, so you'll see aerobics there. We have 2 fully equipped gyms if fitness is important to someone, yoga, Zumba, just really overall health and wellness for folks to take advantage of.
And that amazed me because in Milford, we have a nice senior center. And,
Lovely senior center.
and the people there are really, I mean, Sue, the director, just, you could tell she really loves the Milford seniors.
She is amazing and so passionate about what she does.
And she came to us and wanted to outfit a gym upstairs. I'm thinking, wait a minute, 80-year-old people want a gym?
They do.
Yeah. And, you know, at first I was skeptical. I went along with it. I supported it because I trust Sue. But then it's only been a few years. She came back and said, one gym didn't work out. I need to outfit another one.
Love to hear
80
that.
is the new 50, Al.
It was just amazing when she started telling me this Zumba, Lumba, whatever it is, how much participation she was gathering from the seniors. You know, and at the end of the day, I think it's wonderful because these are the people who built our town. You know, it's our moms, it's our dads, our grandparents. But even if you don't have them, they built our town. The reason Milford is what it is because of these people. So anything that we can do to make their life a little easier is wonderful. How do people go shopping?
So we do have scheduled transportation for folks that are no longer driving, but we also do have plenty of folks that join and live with us in the community that do still have active driver's license and do bring their car when they move with us. So plenty of options if folks want to drive themselves or hop on our coach to take them to various grocery stores, shopping, restaurants, really anything that they want.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. You know, there's, as far as if somebody has to go into Boston or they want to go into Boston every day, I mean, obviously there's parameters around it, but for the most part, you know,
Silly
again,
people, nobody wants to go to Boston every day. We all hate the commute.
it is
But-
horrible, right?
But I'll tell you, we will most likely have scheduled trips to like the art museums and different places all throughout the Commonwealth. And I know we would, if folks wanted to go to the casino, we'd take, you know, we'd have a scheduled trip there. We'd go to Newport, we'd go Lake Winnipesaukee, you know, so we do a lot of those types of trips as well for folks, again, depending on their interests. So they're not just, again, many folks are still driving, but we do have the coach that will do those scheduled trips to different places. And I know
Which
we
is
have
nice.
in Worcester, we had a loop that would go, and I know we're going to have it here too. So weekly, it would go to some of the different shopping areas or to the banks. And although we are going to have a bank, I'm not sure which bank it is, but we will have a bank in the
On site.
community as well. Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And, you know, Al, one thing that you haven't yet brought up, but I think is really important is the amount of jobs that we are bringing, you know, to our town and to all the towns around us, because for 171 apartments, which is the size of our community, I'm sure you can only imagine the staff and the team of people that we have to have working there. So it's really nice to be able to say, we are hiring, you know, please, you know, for so many different things. There's got to be something that could be matched up to your liking. So that makes me really, really happy and really proud.
So you're going to have what, 250, 300 residents?
I would say around 250.
Yeah, probably. We have 171 units altogether.
Yeah.
So depending on whether they're singles or double, or a couple,
Exactly.
and we really have a good mix of singles and couples who have currently deposited. So that's a good thing as well. But I will
That
tell you,
sounds
we're going to
like
be.
a good nucleus of people.
I'm sorry.
That sounds like a great nucleus of people.
Mhm.
Yeah. And again, we mentioned this earlier, but they're from all parts of the country.
Yes.
So we're super excited that folks' children live near us because we're getting people from other states, and it's really going to be a great
A lot of Floridians that, COVID did so much bad, but it did do some good. And I think the good is that it's taught all of us what's really important in life. So myself, and Nancy and Ari get the pleasure of really meeting these wonderful, wonderful people that have these incredible stories. And typically we probably would never have met them, but because of the situation, and again, God forbid if anything happened again, these people, they want to be near their family. They want to be near and dear, and they know that that's something that they don't want to ever have that happen again, where they can't see anybody, their sons or daughters for a year. So that is it's a win-win. It's a very happy, nice thought.
Well, I always laugh because when somebody says, we're not sure where we're going to end up living or retiring, I just look and say, where's your grandkids?
Yes.
You know,
Mhm.
'cause, I mean, my darling bride talked about when my youngest daughter went off to college, that we no longer had to live above the Arctic Circle in the cold. We could move back to Virginia. And I mean, we loved it down there. It spent 4 days a week living on a boat and 3 days a week living in a house. It was wonderful. But all of a sudden, in came Chase, my grandson. And then in came Madison, my granddaughter. Never a word now about leaving Milford.
I believe it.
But and you've got it. That's the most important thing. It's kind of the why behind why we do everything. So I think our families.
Well, that was the whole idea of getting him a house a mile away.
Yes,
Yeah.
tell Nancy and Ari that story.
Now,
I love that.
we did have an agreement that I would do the house, but it had to be, now they could go anywhere they want in Milford. As long as it was in Milford, anywhere they want. Because we figured that, like now, they're a mile and a half away. We put in a gym so that they'll come over. And it's really hard because when my oldest daughter and my son-in-law come over, they force us to play with the kids because they're working out downstairs. So we have to, play with my grandson and my granddaughter while they're busy downstairs. It's such a burden.
You're a lucky man, and they're so lucky to have you.
No, I'm lucky because, I have such a dysfunctional family. We do everything together. I don't think we've ever gone on a vacation that it
I remember you told me that.
So
And he
nice.
always, his wife is his lovely bride. He is so adoring about his wife. I was
Mhm.
listening to these stories, and I thought, wow, you are really an incredible person. And
No, I'm just lucky. My darling bride saved my mother's life when my dad passed away. And this is terrible to say, but she was a typical Portuguese mom. Everything was about the family. We were living down in the DC area. If we had let her sit home here by herself, she'd wither away. So Sharon came home one night and said, your mother has to move in with us. And I was like, really? I didn't know I could ask. And that was 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago. So, from that end,
Amazing.
yeah, we were lucky.
Mhm.
Now, as we get near the end of the show, we could go on and on, but we're running into a couple minutes left. If somebody was to say, why should I choose Salmon of Medway? What would you say?
Can we all chip in there?
You can all chip in. You got 3 minutes to chip in.
Oh, okay.
I would say I've worked for the salmon community for 10 years, and I have seen what a difference they have made in the lives of our residents, and their families. And I can't tell you how many times in the past 10 years I have had people say, I wish I had done this sooner. So, again, just come and take a look. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised and happy with what you see. And we'd love to have you join our community, because I know the type of people that we have working for us, and we're going to do the best we can to make your life great.
Nan,
You will be happy.
you want to add anything, Nan?
I think I've been with the company for 6 months, and knowing the leadership team and knowing the gentleman that's running this community, he is the most important thing is keeping this resident happy. And it's truly from the heart. So I truly believe that I can say, you got to come here because you will be happy. You will be.
Miss Ariel, you got the last word.
Off of both of them. To sum it up shortly, I would just say I believe with my whole heart that Salmon at Medway is the lifestyle that people deserve.
Well, if the 3 of you are any indication of what's there, it sounds like a great place.
Well, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
So,
Thank you.
Can't wait to give you a tour.
yes,
That's
I will come out
right.
and
That's
look.
right.
As always, to our 6 loyal viewers, thank you for joining us. May God bless. May tomorrow be a better day than today. Good night, all, and thank you again.
Night. Thank you.
Right.
so much.
Far too long since I've been home. Been running all my life just